All right, folks, buckle up. This one has been a long time in coming, and we haven't had many people from Florida. Great state of Florida. Welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Joe, and my guest today runs a school district in rural Florida. About 28% children live in poverty. County seat poverty rate 37%. And a company, this is what I read, a company once canceled a housing development project because the schools were in that bad a shape.
Yep.
In 2015, the graduation rate was 54.9%. 9 of 17 schools were rated D or F. Do we have a storyline to tell folks? My friend, Rick Cernsey, is the elected superintendent of Putnam County School District. Rick, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Joe. And you know our data better than I do. So
I
that's
tell you
great.
what, well, let me share the other side of that, because today the graduation rate is above 90%, probably close to 93%, the largest improvement of any district in Florida during that period. So
Well,
take that, my friend.
well, and actually, to be exact, 96.6%.
I tell you what, the data is the data, and I get it from the source. So I appreciate you right sizing that. You got a lot of dust flying in the air as well. You got 9 schools being built.
Yeah.
Maybe that
That's
data is needing to be corrected as well, but you got a lot of school projects.
yeah. We have a lot going on, and yeah, that's our plan over 10 years, and we currently have 5 schools under construction now.
My goodness, that's like newer, like new, like just waiting to happen.
Yep.
And you came out of retirement to make this thing happen, Tom Brady. What do you think
Yeah.
of that? What do
Yeah.
you think of that?
Well, I tell people I retired in 2016, and I had so many chores to do at home. I had to go get elected for this job to get some rest. So
Here's what I come back to, Rick, and we talk real straight on this show. You said in 2016, when the storyline was a little bit different. Okay, if people had gotten real comfortable saying, "Well, we can't really expect much from these kids," right? It's not a budget problem, or a facilities problem. It's a belief problem, and you took it head on. And belief problems are the hardest ones to fix, because nobody's going to admit that they actually have one, right? That's a strong statement, boss.
well, you know what? People and kids, especially, will do what you expect them to do, and it's just a story of raising expectations for our kids and our community. And you know what? We have a lot of excuses that we could use. We're one of the poorest counties in the entire state of Florida, but that's just a number. That's a thing, but it doesn't. We don't have to believe that. So we changed the belief system, and it's really paid off over the last 10 years.
So that national context, it's on the table right now. We're talking about rural school districts across America with high poverty rates. The ones like above 20% are overwhelmingly treated as just like this triage situation. You manage them, you contain the damage, you try to keep the scores from getting any worse, right? But the conversation is almost never about transformation. It's not ever about like, no, we're going to overachieve here, because the sector has largely decided that poverty is the ceiling, not a challenge. So you took that head on.
Well, Joe, I think the human nature is when people start seeing in themselves what other people see in them, I think people start to rise to the occasion. And, and our kids have done that. And I think the more success we have, the more they continue to believe that. And I think that's a lesson for all of us, that we can do things that we think we're not capable of doing. And
So bring me back. I think compare and contrast is a wonderful teaching strategy in the classroom. But when you walked back into the district, when you walked in 2016, when you took over, I don't want to hear the stats anymore. I want to hear what it felt like to just be on the ground at that time before.
well, and I was a principal right before I retired, and it was really just kind of, hey, let's just get by. We're used to being subpar. Let's just, we're a poor district. We're doing what people expect us to do. And that was kind of the mindset. It really was. And, we're an older community. People are just used to doing what they did. And it really was a matter of coming in and changing the way people perceive themselves, the way they perceive these schools. And, and I surrounded myself with a lot of positive people,
Mm.
a lot of people that were like minded. And we set some goals. We created a strategic plan, and it took off.
Did
But I
some
think,
people did some people just think you were silly putting some of those words, some of those statements, some of those goals, some of those objectives, like doing it publicly?
yeah, I think some of that was I had some pushback, but you know what? And this is a lesson for many leaders. We put a system in place, and when you put a system in place, you don't have to continue to think about it. You just continue to use those better practices, if you will. And after a while, you start seeing that incremental change, incremental improvement, and then actually it takes off. It,
I look for people that use words that I love, and you said better practices. Rick, you said better practice. Most people say best practice, but you said better practice. And these are oftentimes things that have never been tested or approved yet, because best practice goes back 30 years ago and scholarly proof to it. No, the better practices are looking across your curb and seeing your neighbors and your industry partners and going, what do they need us to be? Those are better practices. I love that, my friend.
well, and it's a term I just coined.
There
So
it is. That's probably the title to your next book. You've authored a book. Let's just go there for a minute, because I wanna plug that for a little bit. Where did the idea come from, and what's the book about?
I learned something this writing my first book, and I learned one thing: when you write a book, you don't even create the title until you after you finish writing the book. And what really came out of that writing was trust. And the name of my book is called Trust Me. And we put some things in place that was built on trust. And
Mm,
as you mentioned, I'm an elected superintendent, and my livelihood depends on people trusting me.
yeah.
And I run every 4 years. But if I don't create and sustain that trust in the people whom I serve, I can't continue doing this. So what's in that book is a little bit about me growing up and how that has impacted what I'm doing now. And the rest of it's talking about, the wonderful things that we've done in the district. But the common line there is about trust. And that's one thing we built throughout the school district is, trusting us, trusting the system. And I think when they start to see that, things are getting better and better and better, you know what? Our school district is a driver in this community.
Mm.
Our entire community is experiencing revitalization. And I think it really boils down to what's happening in the school district.
I love it. I love it because that external problem across any system, it's an external problem is trust.
Right.
Yeah, you might have a little bit of it on the inside, but I think the inside problem's a whole different deal. But if, like you said, if you got people, especially in this day of choice, things might be a little bit different in Florida, but across the nation, I mean, demand and profitability is a real thing in education. And parents are driving past campuses to go to other campuses because they trust those campus leaders, they trust the culture, they trust all those things. So when you can double down and have that, I think that let's play a game here. What do you think the inside problem is in education today?
I think there's a lot of apathy
Mm,
within education. And I think traditional public schools, and I'm just being very general here, a lot of times we have looked outside of us and said, hey, what can others do to help us? What can the government do? Why doesn't the government give us more money? Why don't businesses support us? Now we are having to turn that around. And really, we are about being competitive, trying to create that market share for us. And we are having to really become the best choice of, that parents have.
right.
And we just don't earn that unless we do things to earn that.
There's a whole new level of hustle, and I know that you spent some time with a whistle around your neck, and both you and I coached football back in the
That's
day.
right. That's
I
right.
tell you what, and I think that brings a whole different posture to the office where you just know there's a lot of potential in that young person, man or young woman, And your job as a coach is to just maximize and optimize all of that. But like you said, there's something going on in this victimized culture today that would say, I'm just going to sit here because I think they're coming for me, like in a good way, like the good ship lollipops coming and they're going to drop all my That's never been, and it never will be.
And we have had to do some things out of the box. And I'll go back to the word trust. Probably the biggest indicator that I had trust or we had built trust here is our voters back in 2022 approved a $300 million bond referendum to be paid back over 30 years. And again, a small, rural, highly or high low socioeconomic.
Yeah, that was a stretch for your community.
Right. And we passed that. But we passed that because people were trusting what we were doing.
Mm.
And as a result of that, we are building some of the finest schools in the entire state of Florida, which really, to me, it's not always about building. It's about we're creating something for our students to give them a purpose to come to be in a very safe school, have all the modern stuff of any student in the state of Florida. So to me, that is what is helping us to really turn the corner. And again, it's because of that trust.
Yeah. People still call you coach?
You know what? The ones who I coached back in the day in the 80s and the 90s, I'll see them in the store and they call me coach.
Same. Yeah, I think that's the title of honor. So, yeah, not just teacher. I mean, coach, and coaches see students under pressure. They see failing, winning, quitting, coming back, all those things in ways that maybe just a regular classroom teacher wouldn't. And when you can translate that to you building trust in the community, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of offense and X's and O's that you got to be thinking about. Building a $300 million project, you had to kind of I got to look at the community tendencies here. I got to see what's their appetite for this. How am I going to approach it? All of that from really that coach's lens.
Well, and like any coach, and you can understand this, it's about relationships. We build relationships with our players that will last decades. Like you say, they still call me coach and they call you coach, but you have those wonderful, intense relationships with those people. It's the same way I lead. I mean, I lead through relationships, and
Yeah.
people don't follow you because of some position. They follow you because you've established a relationship with them.
There's a lot of noise out there, but people are really looking for that heart connection. And what I'm drawn to, Rick, is the mindset that you brought into the office that has cascaded from the office, really from who you are as a person. My guess is you've got an expanded family that continues to grow. So your kids, their kids, and that mindset probably has had some influence across those realms, across your team, across your entire district. And then the community is starting to believe now what you believed back in the day. Isn't
Yeah.
that how it works?
And it comes from years and years and years in the past. My growing up, playing ball, coaching ball, you know, being around people that have influence on me. And you know what? All that just kind of comes to fruition. And we impact people, we touch people in ways that we don't even realize. And we are touched by people in the past that, we emulate that at the time it doesn't even register. So it's
Hmm.
so magical just being around people and, picking up those tendencies and learning from them.
That's the word. I'm better practice and magical. I'm stealing a few of these things. Sir, you decided to retire. How did that go for you?
Well, it lasted about 6 months.
Did you
And
go golfing or sit in a bass boat for a while, or
I
what did
did
you
I
do?
did a little golfing, and my wife had me build a fence in the backyard and all that kind of stuff. And probably whenever I leave what I'm doing now, I'm not going to 100% retire because I feel like I've got to be, I have to be doing something significant, and it's not really about out there earning money. It's about feeling like I'm still pouring into people.
That's what it's all about. I tell you what, the researchers say that every day of our life, right? We're taking in air. We should be looking at worthy work.
Yeah.
That's the most healthy thing for just the essence of the human, is having something to get up. So I'm not a big fan of retirement. I don't actually believe in it, because every day it's worthy work, and being part of a loving community. That's the other key piece, where you are supposed to be showing up someplace. And if you're not there, people are saying, well, where's Rick today?
Yeah.
That could be the church choir. It could be the noon basketball league, whatever it happens to be.
I went to an event last night, and we had 25 graduates who were all, have challenging lives, maybe from a low socioeconomic background. And I spoke at that event, and they all have mentors. Okay. They mentors in the community. How beautiful was that? All these kids are graduating on time. And had it not been for those mentors, who they probably didn't even know until they met them, through this program, these kids probably would not be graduating. And they all have scholarships to go to college. It's Take Stock in Children. And what a wonderful community event it was. And that's so gratifying to me, to see kids who other people have poured into. And one day these kids will pour into somebody and make them a better person.
To put it in perspective, you're changing family trees.
Absolutely.
Changing
trajectories. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to look at the metrics. I mean, you look at your data every year. I mean, there's graduation rates and attendance rates and all of that stuff that you're crushing right now. But I'm a skeptic. A 37-point graduation jump in 6 years. Hey, friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show. I don't know. Some might say fake news or bloated numbers. Or tell me the mechanics. How did you get into that work? How did you just begin to do the work of getting more students completing on time?
Well, first of all, it's so important. And by the way, it was a 41.7 percentage point increase.
There it is. Yeah, you're my AI today. You're just scraping all the data and making it true.
And to be honest with you, you improve what you focus on. And we were focusing on a K-12 plan, not a senior plan, a K-12 plan. We started looking at kids as far back as third grade. And if they were not on track for graduation in third grade.
So you had markers. You had a third grade marker.
3rd, 6th, 9, those transitional times.
Yep.
Looking at the data, we met with principals on a regular basis. They brought their data in, and hey, they had to defend it. And they showed us, how many kids do you have on track to graduate? So we held those principals accountable. We really looked at were they behind in 2 classes, were they being absent, all the things that could impact a student's trajectory. And, once we started doing that, our principals became experts on graduation, and they could tell you to the kid, to the student, who was on track to graduate. So that is, in a nutshell, that's it. We started focusing on the data, the early warning signs, and now it is part of our language around here. And not only have we achieved the 96.6, we continue to do that. That is an expectation we have of our schools.
Back to your earlier comment, you've built a system that will expect that. So it shows up. It's like a habit, like getting up and putting your running shoes on. This is what we do each and every quarter to ensure that our students are on track, right? On track to graduate.
One of the best
doesn't matter. You could hire a new principal and they better learn how to operate within our system, right?
Yeah, I read the book by Jim Collins, Good to Great, years ago, and that had such an impact on me. And I actually got a written note from Jim Collins not too long ago, but what he talks about the level 5 leader,
Right.
how you can build a system, build a culture where the leader can be plucked out and the system will continue moving on. You lose important people, you build that, you put people back in the system, but the system itself will continue to drive when you put those things in place. So to me, whenever I leave this job, this system will continue building, and that's what I'm very gratified about.
My guess is you've got a John Maxwell quote somewhere in that office of yours talking about your goal is not to live forever, right? Your goal is to create something that's just gonna outlast you. And,
Yep, and it's probably backwards, but it's right
oh,
above my
look at
desk.
that. Look at that. That didn't happen by accident. You folks, this is a real he's a really big deal. I don't always have the big dogs on the show here today, but I mean, you've been Florida Superintendent of the Year, you've been National Superintendent of the Year, but you don't wear that. I mean, you're just doing the work of somebody that is like called into the work. You teach at the local university. You've got family members that are educators. This isn't a job. It's like I believe it's a calling.
Well, and you know what? It's about humility, and I'm only as good as the people around me. And it's like I say when I meet my cabinet, my staff, their job is to answer the questions I ask. I ask the questions; they need to have all the answers because I look at them to be the experts, and all I do is bring that synergy to the room. And
Sounds
it's
like a
all
pretty easy job.
yeah, it's not bad. I just got to come up with some smart questions.
Better questions every day. Better questions. What I'm wondering, you built you're a systems guy, and that's what I pulled from you. And we've had other interactions before the show here today. And I think it's when you can put your team together that will take a look at a broken system, and that's what you inherited was a broken-minded system. And across the nation, I fight tooth and nail because our K-12 system is absolutely broken. But we've got some healthy teams that are coming together to like just start plucking away and saying we're making this system better for our community, right?
Yeah.
So it is the question that I would have for you, Rick, and
Mhm.
then we'll get to the lightning round here. Is what you're building exportable?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to write a book because the best thing I can do is to share with other people who are in my seat. And that's why I go to so many conferences and I speak at conferences around the nation. I want to pour into other people because I want them to feel success just like I'm feeling it.
There it is. And modeling the way. I don't know if that's a Collins thing. I think that's a Kuznis and Posner thing. Modeling the way and inspiring the heart. I pull both of those from you, sir.
One more thing I want to share talking about a system, and I'll be very brief. We
Yeah.
don't have a teacher shortage around here. We
Hmm.
actually the way we recruit teachers is when we hire them, we keep them, and we have gone from a 65% teacher retention rate to a 93% teacher retention rate.
If I picked up the phone and said, "You got 2 minutes to tell me how that came to be," would you have, "Here's the plan"?
I can tell you less than that.
Go.
We
Let's
hire
go.
we hire teachers, experienced teachers, four of them. They do nothing but go to school, and they work with those new teachers, and they want them to feel 100% successful, productive. We don't want those teachers to be frustrated. And by the way, we offer no cost health care for our teachers too. So we want to give them a reason to stay in this job and to feel like they're part of this system.
I tell
And
you what,
it
there
helps.
should be like do you have any openings right now? Because this could be like an unpaid advertisement for Putnam County. Come teach with us. That's a one heck of a benefit.
Well,
You
if you go to LinkedIn, I just put an article out about how we did that and also about our graduation rate. So, a little
It's for
plug
real.
for LinkedIn.
It's for real. Most people would say you're superhuman, so we're going to prove that you are human. We're going to move this to the lightning round, Rick, now, so buckle up. All right, so tell me, boss man, is there a quote that you live by?
Well, the one we just talked about,
Okay.
I may not live forever, but I can create something that does.
How about worst advice you've ever received in leading people?
Um, that I'm the boss. Whoops.
Yeah.
Something. Let me close something out here. Yeah, I've had people say, "You do it because I said so." That's what my dad used to tell me sometime.
Yeah,
But
it worked for my old man too, but I it didn't work for me and my kids. How about best advice you've ever adopted and put into practice?
to listen, to listen. I don't care who they are. You keep your mouth closed and you listen.
Hmm.
You don't judge people. You listen. And hey, that's good marriage advice too, by the way.
There it is. That'll shit. That'll shit. How about an unpopular opinion that you are eager to defend, boss?
Unpopular opinion that kids today don't need to, no, my opinion is kids today or kids of every generation need to work a job. I don't care if they are going to college or whatever. Work is essential for them navigating life. I don't care what the pay is. You've got to be able to balance work and school and life. So I've worked many jobs, lugging watermelons. I was a car hop. I did construction, all that while I was in school. And I just feel that is such a beneficial thing. But a lot of people today have a different opinion. So I'll just leave it at that.
And we're just gonna leave it at that. And I need to go. Let's go sports. Let's go sports for a minute. Gators or Seminoles?
I'm a Gator through and through, class of 1980, and we're gonna have a great year this year.
How about something you changed your mind about recently?
Um, Something I changed my mind about is that I don't want to necessarily leave money in my will for my kids. Okay. Let me just explain that real
This
quick.
is getting really interesting now.
Yeah. I believe when we raise our kids, we raise them to take care of themselves. And when I die, I want them to carry on and not stand around and wait on me to die to get money from me. I believe that when we raise our children, we raise them to be self sufficient and to be productive and to take care of their families. I'm
That's
not
good.
saying not help them, but I'm
No,
saying uh, when they grow up, they need to be able to take care of themselves.
my kids know that if there's anything left over, it's due to poor planning. How about a decision in your career that you'd make 10 times over?
Back in 1986, I started in 78. 1986, I kind of had that 7 year itch. I briefly got out of education, went into the private business world, found out very quickly that was not for me. And I made the decision to come back to education in 1980, the fall of 1986, and I've been here ever since. And then that just reaffirmed this is the place I need to be. This is my passion.
There it is. There it is. Hey, if you weren't running a school, what would you be doing?
Probably out playing a little golf
Okay, getting
and
back into it.
taking my boat on the river.
Uh-huh. How about a word or short phrase, Putnam County's future?
Revitalization.
Love that.
Yeah, we
Love
are
that.
revitalizing.
In all fairness, you got any questions for me?
Well, Joe, the one question I have
Mhm.
is what made you do what you're doing now? Because I see your podcast and all that. What was the driving decision, the reason why you were doing what you're doing right now?
That's a great question, and the long answer, deserves a couple slices of pizza. I'll come and find you. But yeah, I fell out of love, not in public education, but I really became sobered up about just how broken the system really was. And I couldn't fix it as a teacher. I couldn't fix it as a principal. I couldn't fix it as a superintendent. So I stepped out in 2016 with this big, audacious, hairy goal, right? to really come alongside the builders, not the dreamers or the climbers, the builders, and keep them propped up, because that is the only thing. And I don't believe it's in the leader. I've changed my mind. I thought, ooh, I've got to work with the lead. I've got to keep the leader propped up so that they can build up this team to retrofit, right? The system. And there's brand new life on the other side of this. And I appreciate you
I
asking.
want to thank you for what you do, because you are really telling the message. And I think that's a lesson we all can learn. We all need to tell the message of education and really really speak positive.
Yeah.
And hey, education is what makes this world turn. And I
It's
appreciate what you're doing.
it's a cornerstone of our democracy.
Hmm.
And the socioeconomic, realities of today is we all just got to look ourselves in the mirror and go, tag, we're it. We've got to recreate the conditions for a better tomorrow. And that doesn't happen through politics. It happens through education.
Well, and we're
So
going through a change now, and hey, we've got to lead it. We've got to be there with them, and I'm excited about it.
I appreciate you coming out of retirement, and there's just oodles of lessons that I pulled out of this thing, Rick, and really appreciate. One is just that poverty excuse. That's what I'm pulling away from this. And if you're listening in, I think if you're a superintendent, principal watching, the question isn't whether your community has enough of the resources. It's not about you going on knocking on doors and writing grants. I think the question is, what is the expectation that you're leading with, right? And do you have the courage to just put your name on a ballot and let the outcome just answer that for themselves? And that's what this amazing human being has done. And, between that dash, Rick, between your birth date and your death date, you're doing the work, and it is calling, sir. If they want to learn more about your district, where do they find you? And then how do they get that book?
Okay, the book is hopefully you'll have a chance to put it on the screen. There's a QR code. You can go on there, get on the address list, and I'll send out information. And I'll be putting out information probably this summer when we release the book.
Again, the title of the book?
Trust Me.
Trust Me. And it's not out yet.
It's not out yet.
Okay. We'll
But
look for it.
it's a playbook about the highest increase in graduation rates in the entire nation over the last 10 years.
We're not talking just the state of Florida, folks.
And reach out to me on www.putnamschools.org. And that is our website. You can find me there, and I would love to hear from you. And or you can find me on LinkedIn.
There it is. Yeah, he posts on a regular basis, especially the stuff that he posts. This is going to air next or a couple of weeks from now. So look it up. Sir, you are a model worth following. You've inspired my heart today. To our listeners out there, just emulate. Just do what this guy is doing. Keep your dukes up and keep fighting.
And I've got a podcast too. It's called The Pulse.
The Pulse.
And I'm The Pulse, Pulse. And I'm actually going to be hosting Joe.
Well,
in the future,
we're going to flip the mic. All right, that's the show, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
And good luck with your grandkids today, okay?
All right, thank you.